Then when I turn
Okay.
this thing over to you, you will have the screen and you can go from there. As relates to questions, Nikala, do you prefer that we wait until the end, or are you okay with us asking throughout? Nikala, can you hear me?
Uh-oh.
There you go.
Yes, I can hear
Did you
you.
hear what I just said about?
Yes, you were saying as relates to
Yeah,
questions.
how would you prefer? You prefer that we wait or we can ask throughout?
I think that maybe it could be better to hold them until the end just because we're on like a tight timeline
Uh-huh.
to make sure that we're able to get through the presentation and
Okay.
then having time for everyone to ask their questions.
Okay. Before I do my brief intro and turn this thing over to you, let's do a quick test of a screen share. So share your screen real quick to make sure that we're good on that front.
Okay, can you see my screen?
It's coming. Okay, cool. That's beautiful. Okay. All right. So we can leave it there and I'll just go ahead and do the intro. So thank you for
Okay.
being here for Thursday morning breakfast. As always, I appreciate you. And thank you guys who are watching online and those who will be watching the recording. So for those that don't know, Thursday morning breakfast is something that we try to do every Thursday morning. And this is our effort to be the bridge between all the good that goes on in the greater Houston area. And in this case, the good that's going on in the motherland Africa, because that's where our speaker is coming from this morning. We want to be the bridge between all of that good with those that are doing the good and those that need that good to be done in their lives. This is a build upon of our Thursday morning breakfast last week. If you did not see it, you most certainly need to go back and watch it, because Sister Frances Smith was talking about the changing global financial system and how that change, of course, is going to affect marginalized / Black communities. If we as a people and if marginalized communities don't understand these global financial changes, which are happening, which are coming, then we're going to find ourselves locked out of a system that was built on the backs of our people. This morning, we want to build upon something Sister Frances said last week. Sister Frances said that to protect yourself and your family, your community from what's coming, you got to have assets. And the main three she mentioned was buying gold, buying silver, and real estate. Sister Nikala is she's a lot of things and that she does a lot. But one of the things that she does is she has her own real estate company, and she's going to introduce to us something that I didn't know even existed, and hopefully it'll be the same for you guys moving forward. Something called micro real estate investing, and that you don't have to have a lot of money to buy real estate. You can have a little bit of money. That little bit of money gets added to other people's little bit of monies, and then you have more monies by which you can do things with, and not just the micro real estate investments, but also being able to do that and flipping the properties that you are purchasing either on a micro level or on a larger level. So as relates to what Sister Frances said last week, we have to have assets that we own so that these global financial changes don't impact us in such a manner that we find ourselves permanently locked out of a system, and there's no way to get back in. So we got to start focusing on understanding the global financial market system and how it's changing, and probably more importantly, how we're going to protect ourselves, our families, and our communities from those changes, because those changes are going to happen regardless. So it's not on us to try and get other people not to be who they are, because they're going to be who they are. We got to make moves on our end to ensure that we protect it from everything that they want to do. So on that note, I'm going to turn this thing over to Sister Nikala. Ask her to give us a brief intro as to who she is, where she is, why she started Legacy Landowners, and then she'll go into the absolutely phenomenal services that her company offers so that we can all take advantage of it. So on that note, Sister Nikala, I'm going to turn this thing over to you, and you do your thing.
Okay, thank you so much, Brother Tamani, and thank you so much, everybody, for inviting me to join your breakfast today. I would love to be able to eat with you. I'll have to take it in virtually from here. I have my kombucha here made by Mama Faraha Taha, who you may be familiar with. They're from the Houston area, who is also, spending a lot of time. Right now, she's actually there, but she's spending a lot of time here in Rwanda, East Africa as well. Myself and my family, we're between Houston, Texas, and Rwanda, East Africa right now. And that's been a really beautiful shift for us for many reasons. And one of the takeaways that I would like for you to get from today is that if you have thought about, living abroad or coming back to the motherland, it does not have to be all or nothing, right? You can still maintain a residence, there in Texas or there in the States, and also be able to be here and leverage your time that's on the continent by starting businesses, hiring people, making investments that can help you to better build your foundation for how you're leveraging your resources back in the States, right? So I'm just going to kind of, have a little back and forth with Brother Tamani here to get that started. Brother Tamani, what would you say the average rent is in Houston right now for, let's say, like a 5-bedroom house?
5 bedroom, Lord have mercy.
4 or 5 bedrooms.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be. You said per month, right?
Per month.
Um, I don't know, 2,500 perhaps. Is that low?
That is low.
Oh, so we're gonna say 3,000 plus.
Less.
Yeah, we say 3,000 plus a month.
Okay, so you can rent like a 5 to 7 bedroom furnished in the town where we're, here in Rwanda right now for about $300 to $350 a month, fully furnished,
To 300,
right?
$350 a month. Is that what you said?
$300 to $350 a month in the area where we live in the Bujisera district, fully furnished, mostly American style home would be $300 to $350 a month for 5 to 7 bedroom gated home,
Okay.
completely gated in with trees, everything, right? So it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can think about coming here to the continent, building things and then being able to travel back and forth. And depending on how you leverage that for you living in both locations, then for you living in just one location, you can downsize in Houston, add something on the continent, and then make those trips back and forth. Now, that's especially going to be a good thing for you if you are doing business in both locations, and then they're kind of feeding into each other because cost for labor, all of that, are different on the continent as well. So just keep that in mind as like a seed in your mind as we move forward, right? So today we're going to talk about mainly properties in the United States. So I've been purchasing properties in the US for maybe a little bit over 2 years now. I spent like 6 years just researching. And then over this past couple of years, I've purchased almost 50 lots that are in the US, in Arkansas, Texas, and Arizona, right? And I did not think coming into it that I would be able to purchase that many in such a short amount of time. I did not think that that was going to be possible, for me on my income. But what I found was that, once I got into it and I got a rhythm with it, then it kind of escalated a lot more quickly than, what I thought it could. And when you learn how to do land flipping, this can be something with a little bit of effort. You can still maintain a full-time job. And just by putting in that little bit of effort, you could bring in anywhere like from an extra like $2,000 to $10,000, per month, which is what I saw people doing. It was a very white male dominated industry, but when I was doing my research, watching on YouTube, people were saying like, oh yeah, I'm making 10K per month within like less than 10 hours per week doing land flipping. And they were so nonchalant about it. Like, yeah, I just paid off my house with it. And it's like they weren't even trying to sell anything. And it's like that would be really life changing, for the nature of what we do. I'm the founder of an African centered K through 12 online school, Whole Living Academy. And with the nature of running a culturally grounded school, the biggest thing is doing that. So if a parent has some trouble, is not able to pay the tuition for that month, you're not really going to kick them out, because of that. Even if they have a hard year, you're not going to kick them out because of that. So I needed to have something that was going to give us like a backup plan so that when things were not, coming as quickly with the school, then we would have something that we could pull from that could keep things solid during those more challenging times and still be something that's beneficial to the community. And so that was my impetus for researching land flipping and for founding Legacy Landowners LLC, which is what we're going to talk about today. So when you think about buying property, then rural land flipping is like a side door instead of the front door. Most people picture wealth building in real estate as having a house or doing house flipping, down payment, mortgage, going through bidding. Micro real estate is the other entry, small rural residential parcels that you can buy outright. You can hold on to them, improve them, sell them using cash that you're actually able to put together. It could be, $2,000, $4,000, 10,000, depending on the size of the property that you're purchasing. It can actually be very low. And then you look for something that has a greater investment value than its appraisal value. Like if you can find a property that is $3,000 in a beautiful area near a lake, okay, you got that because it's at that appraisal value, but someone who's looking to build a lakefront home may be willing to spend 6K or 10K on that property once you've, taken some great pictures or some great drone shots of it. And so without having to do anything to the property, just by understanding the process, then you're able to make that difference. And so that difference can be 2K, it can be 5K. It's not $1 million, right? So this is something that is bringing in a steady flow of income, while of course helping people in the process because, people would love to be able to buy land, good land for an affordable price. And you're able to make money that, can help you towards your goal. So it's not like a get rich thing, but it's definitely a sustainability thing. So talking about us specifically, Black people have always understood land as power, right? So if you look at the timeline here, and I'm not going to read all of this verbatim, but you can see 1865, Special Field Orders number 15, set aside 400,000 coastal acres. The Freedmen's Bureau follows, and Johnson reverses it. Then we see that events were happening 1919. 1862, we had the Homestead Act distributing almost 300 million acres of public land overwhelmingly to white settlers. 1910 to 1920, 16 to 19 million acres owned, and 925,708 Black farmers, 1 in 7 in America, but we were not owning a lot of that land. Then you have the FHA underwriting and HOLC maps that wrote race directly into who qualified for a mortgage, right? So throughout time, throughout history, it's like we have been somewhat locked out of the industry, and it's been more difficult for us to be able to get into land. And that's why even now you can see that we don't own land as much as, Caucasian people in the United States. Like it's been very deliberate. It's been an attack, right? And then you have gentrification on top of that and, lack of knowledge about land ownership and holding on to it, where a lot of people whose families did struggle and fight to be able to get land have not been able to maintain it. So it's something that we need to come back to. And, like Brother Tamani said, understand assets. So we have a legacy question and we have a strategy question. 90% is the number of the decline in Black owned land from the early 1900s at its peak, driven by legal manipulation, heirs' property vulnerabilities, and forced sales, down to now, right? So you would think that we would own more land in 2026 than in the early 1900s, but actually, Black land ownership has decreased around 90% from the early 1900s to today. 1.6 million acres would be heirs property in the Black Belt counties alone, valued at 6.6 billion, and much of it carries clouded titles that leaves it exposed. So this is a real issue. This is an issue that relates to our people on a deep, deep level. Yes. Thank you, Brother Matthew. So this moment feels different. The traditional path into ownership is tighter than it has been in a generation. And this is where we stand. We have a home supply gap. We have the median owner cost with the mortgage. We have the median asking rent. We have the median home price. And why is all of this important? Because income matters. And everyone here, I'm sure, is very familiar with the wealth gap that exists, right? We have a huge wealth gap between white households and Black households in the United States. So if you don't have the money, then of course it's more difficult for you to get into ownership, especially to grow ownership, even to own one piece of land, not to mention 10 or 20, or 50 properties. That can seem like something that's almost impossible. Land works for us as an investment because of its stability. It holds value across generations. You own the ground, and the ground stays exactly where it is through every lease cycle, every move. You have collateral to open credit, partnerships, business opportunity beyond what wages are able to reach. And that changes how institutions see you. One parcel can become a home site, a family retreat, a garden, a rental, a farm, a small business location, or a flip, just depending on the zoning. You decide on the strategy and the timing of that. Now, for us, we've chosen rural residential land, which is kind of a tongue twister. Try to say that 3 times fast. Rural residential, rural residential. And so the reason for that is because you can actually get accessible, affordable lots that a family can own outright. They can hold it, they can pass it down. That focus is very deliberate. In this segment, the entry price is still low enough to start, and the buyer pool is still deep enough to be able to grow, right? So we look at our due diligence framework as such, looking at access, like, do we have road access, utilities like water and electricity being available, the zoning being residential, that's what we focus on. At this time, I do plan on looking at more agricultural land in the US in the future. Right now, we do have a couple farms. Like I have a couple farms on the continent, one in Ghana and one in Rwanda. And then my close friends have 2 farms here in Rwanda as well. We all have livestock as well. So that's something that we've gotten into here on the continent. But in the US, I've been focusing on residential property more so because I'm not always there. So it would be more difficult, to maintain something like here. You can start a farm and, for less than $200, you can hire, staff, like $200 a month or less. You can hire staff to be able to manage, that farm here in Rwanda, right? Even, paying people at a nice wage. But of course, in the US, that's not possible. So if you're not there all this time, if you're back and forth, it would be better for you to look at having a farm here that you have people taking care of. And then in the US, maybe focusing on something residential or commercial. You do want to think about your exit strategy, if that's going to be something that, people pay for outright, if you're doing owner financing. A lot of properties I may sell between like $3,500 and $5,000. If I was owner financing, I could easily bump the price up to $6,000 to $10,000 and break it down into small pieces. And that's what a lot of people do as well. It's just do the owner financing, because when you do owner financing, the other person does not get anything until they pay it off. And so if they sign a contract with you for owner financing and they don't pay it off, or they go into default beyond what you have agreed to, the property stays with you. So there's no risk involved for you as the owner to do owner financing. You just have to be in a position where you're comfortable to just have that monthly cash flow coming in versus having lump sums. So usually people that gravitate towards doing owner financing is because you have a little bit more, money on the front end. Like, let's say you have like 20K to 40K to go in on the front end. You get like a nice little set of properties, right? You put them all out there for owner financing. They have websites, that I can show you that you can go on to put it in owner financing, right? And then you have your cash flow coming in, like maybe each person is paying $200, $300 a month. You have your cash flow without having the risk. And so that's what some people do. Other people may price lower on the front end for a quick sale. And then, you may get a little bit lower profit, but as long as it meets your needs, that's totally okay. You want to make sure something is buildable and also be aware of any taxes, back taxes, homeowner association, subdivision improvement association, anything of that nature. I choose properties that don't have a HOA so that there is no monthly fee that, is associated with them. But those are things you want to look at. So these are examples of properties that I have for sale currently. I actually have a sale going on right now. If you go to legacylandowners.com, you can set up a call with me, through the link at the top. Like you can book with me on Calendly. And like for this property that's near a golf course, right now it's on sale for 3,500. And if you're getting 3 lots, like these 3 lots on Quanusi Drive that are buildable and near the golf course, have utilities and everything already, then it would be 9K for the 3 lots together. And these are all quarter-acre lots. So these are examples of actual listings that I have available currently. So what does it look like to do a flip? So let's say that you found, like some farmland or rural residential land that, is a little bit larger, and, you do a little bit of improvement, a little bit of marketing, then you can see how, that profit can come out of it. And what you're getting out of it does relate to what you're able to put into it, because of course, the more land that you can get, the better prices that you can get. If you buy 5 properties from me, I'm going to give you a discount. I'm going to give you a better price. That's true for most sellers that are the owners of what they're selling. If you're buying 20 properties at a time, you're going to get a better price. If you're buying 50 properties at a time, you're going to get an even better price. And of course, those things raise your margins. So what does it look like to work with legacy landowners? You can just go to legacylandowners.com, set up a meeting on my Calendly, video meeting, choose your lot. I send you a purchase agreement. Once you submit payment, the deed transfer is notarized. I do a virtual notarization with a title company right there in the area so that they take the deed transfer right to the courthouse. And then the deed is mailed to you, usually in about 10 days. Now, how does a land flip work? You would look for an opportunity, analyze the property, do your due diligence. You can add value with something as simple as professional photos or drone shots. And then you can list it on sites, like LandWatch, land.com, Facebook Marketplace. You have to target a specific buyer type if you want to be able to really do well. So if you're choosing something that is near a lake, you may choose people that, want to live a more natural life, people who are retiring, people who work remotely or not depending on finding a job in the area, right? People who want to make a small investment for the future so something can grow and they have the option to sell it. And then, of course, you target that specific buyer type for quick sale and also to raise your profit margins. So, where does land come from before anyone else sees it? You can look at online marketplaces, county tax auctions, even there in Texas. I don't do direct mail to absentee owners personally because that can get kind of sticky. You can have properties like stuck because of other family members. It could just end up being really tricky. So, a lot of people do that. I don't do that. I'll do a tax auction, but I won't do the direct mail personally. And then looking at local networks and talking to people as well. So, three things to do this month. Start to train your eye. Go to legacylandowners.com, landwatch.com, land.com. Start to search land in your state or in a state that interests you. Just look until you know what things cost. Look at real parcels, right, with real prices attached. If something catches your attention, write it down. I do offer classes. I am doing some free trainings right now as well, just to kind
And Nikala, can you hear me? Darn, she froze. All right, since Nikala is frozen, we'll hold. She comes by her link drop. Here she comes. All right, cool.
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah, you froze
Okay,
about 5 seconds.
so
Okay.
we do have, yes, we do have a self-paced class that we have designed in these classes. Like if you go to Land Academy or any of those sites, these classes normally cost upwards of $2,500, which I found to be quite exorbitant. Personally, I'm like, that's a lot, when I was going through my learning process. So I wanted to offer other people a way to do that, like other people in our community specifically, a way to do that where it wasn't going to be so cost prohibitive to be able to gain the information. So I'll share the link with Brother Tamani to share out with everyone. But if you go to legacylandowners.com and then you click course, you'll see that we have a special offer currently to do our lifetime course for just $188. And that will include 4 live calls as well, in a small group to assist you with digesting the information and seeing how you can really apply it to your process. And so you can see here that, I've built out so many modules and lessons and interactives, for you to go through. So this course actually has 11 modules. And in those 11 modules, it took me like a year to build this course because there's so much information that's there, even telling you like where you can find affordable land, in a beginner market, which counties you can find that land in, how much you should expect to pay in each one of those counties and so on. Because for many people, it's like, okay, well, where do I start? I'm in Texas. Where can I still find land for less than $2,000 an acre? It's possible. You may think that it's not, but it is. So those are things that we cover in the course, which you can find at legacylandowners.com. So I'm going to stop here and open up for questions whenever you're ready, Brother Tamani.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I do, I do have a few questions. The first one, can you go back to your slides? Well, no, no, I know,
Yes, of
I remember.
course.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, go ahead and go back to it. So go to the slide where it lays out the process, the 7 steps that you were talking about.
Yes.
That's not it. The steps before you choose to invest. The different things you guys look at,
Okay.
not steps, but I guess the process. But right, that's it, right. Okay.
Okay, these.
Yeah, amen. So you said before money moves, the parcel goes through this lens. Who's doing this? What lens? Who's controlling the lens? Is that on your end? Is that on the
That's
buyer?
me.
Okay, so before you put anything out here for people to possibly invest in, this is your checklist to make sure it's a viable property, correct?
Correct. Now, if
Okay,
they're going to get into doing land flipping, they would also need to learn how to do due diligence as well. Like if
okay,
they want to expand beyond, legacy landowners and like they can buy from us, of course. And if they want to continue from there, they can take our course, right? And I
hmm
would actually teach them all of this so that
okay,
wherever they're buying, they want to buy land in Alaska, they would
right,
understand the process.
okay. And how long is the course?
So you could finish it in as little as about 90 days. And
hmm
then some people may take 6 months, 9 months. It depends on, you because it is self-paced.
Okay,
But I do offer 4 live sessions for free, included with the self-paced course. And I'm
hmm
always accessible to you via, text messaging and email as well if you have any questions, because I understand learning is a process and everyone is different, right? For
okay,
example, we had a family who joined this current cohort that's an RV family. And so they decided to get into buying mining claims
mm,
because you could purchase a 20-acre mining claim for less than $5,000, but you
okay,
can't build a house on it, but you can be on it with an RV, right?
yeah,
So, for less than 10K, they can get 40 acres and be on it with their RV and then continue to purchase those and flip those as their income source as well, right?
right.
So when you have the knowledge, then you can apply it to your specific situation of what it is that you want to do so that you're able to grow best for what's going to serve you and your family.
Okay. Okay, cool. So I'm pretty sure you answered this, but I may have missed it. So can you give us a brief description and or not description, a brief definition as relates to how you define micro investing? Micro real estate. How do you briefly define micro real estate investing?
Yes, so there are all kinds of micro investments, so that would be a longer class, but I would say how I would define micro investing is kind of
No,
like
no, no, no,
how
no,
I
no,
start
no,
new
no.
businesses.
Micro real estate investing.
Micro real estate investing. Okay. Because I was going to say micro investing in general would be looking
Right.
at
Yeah.
where you could put a small amount of money and it can consistently grow, like planting an acorn to grow
Okay.
an oak tree. And that's how I approach all businesses that we start, right? For
Okay.
micro real estate investing, I would say like being able to get in for less than 10K and then being able to scale up, within like 1 to 3 years to having a six-figure business. That's not a textbook definition.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like what I'm telling you you could do. That's how
Gotcha.
I would define it.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's a perfect segue to my next question, which is um what is the lowest investment amount option or possibility that a person would need to get started in micro real estate investing? And I know that might vary, but on average, what is the lowest that is possible or that you've seen?
So the lowest possible would be maybe like 300 to $500,
Okay.
you know? Like if you did like our owner financing deal on a property and then you took time to pay off that property over like 18 months to 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you sell it and then you use the profit to buy 2 properties or 3 properties. Now
Gotcha.
that's a slower process, But if you go through that process, you can start with less than $500. If you want to move a little bit faster, I would say to start with at least like $3,000. And
Three
that
or
way you
30?
can buy a property to start with. You could do it for 300 if you're doing owner financing, but that's slower because then you got to pay off the property before you can sell it.
Right, but
But if you start with
did you say
3,000,
did you say 3,000 or
yeah,
30,000? Okay, 3,000. Okay.
3,000.
Okay.
Yeah, if you start with 3,000, you can buy one property outright, right?
Uh-huh.
And then after you buy that one property outright, you can sell it to a niche market. Like if I sell you a property for 3,000 and then you list it on lakehomes.com for 8,000, right?
Uh-huh.
Now you buy two properties, do it again, buy four properties. It's just like flipping anything, like flipping water on the street, but it's land, you know?
Okay.
So you have
Okay.
to think about it like that, like demystify it in your mind and say, just like if I get a bottle of water from Costco or Sam's, I sell it, I make $2 on a $1 bottle, and then I continue to do that, then it's going to continue to grow. So land flipping, any business is just like that. As long as you're strategic and you know how to follow deadlines, be
Mm-hmm.
disciplined, and do paperwork. You can't like neglect anything. You have to have attention to detail.
Okay. Okay, so is your personal investment strategy, is it buy and hold? Is it buy and flip? Is it a little bit of everything? What is your personal investment strategy?
So every time that I buy properties, I hold some of them.
Okay.
And I've seen a property that I bought that had an appraisal value of like 3,000 in 2024. In 2025, it went up to a $15,000
Okay.
appraisal value, right? So things are definitely changing very quickly. So now is definitely the time, to go ahead and get land while you can,
Yeah.
because the prices are multiplying exponentially every year instead of moving at like a steady small rate, right?
Okay.
So every time that I buy, I don't sell all of it because that would be disastrous. Like,
Right.
how am I giving assets to other people and not building assets for my own family,
Okay.
right? So you have to be disciplined. Like if you want to spend some of the money that you're earning, that's fine. But make sure that you buy more to sell and more to keep, and then you can spend the difference. And it's better to have multiple businesses so that you're never just depending on one business for all of your income,
Right.
because that's how you can end up draining your pot before you end up reinvesting into the business.
Okay. Okay. So from the time you first got started to now, how long has that been? And what is the
Uh-oh.
value of your portfolio as of right now? How long you been doing it, and what's the current value of your portfolio? You free? That's a bad question to freeze on. She'll come back, I'm sure. All right, she froze again, but I'm sure she'll be back in a minute.
She's frozen for people on Zoom.
Well, yeah, if she's frozen, she's frozen. So she's frozen for everybody, except on her end, of course. But I'm sure she'll real like she did before she realized. And I need to tell people again that she's actually in Tanzania, no, Rwanda. So I gotta tell people that. I'm sure there she go. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry, we didn't have the satellite
So
set up at the community center yet.
Yes, okay. So go ahead and go back to the screen you were sharing. So I want to just remind everybody, both those who will watch this, who are watching on Facebook, Sister Nikala is actually in Kigali, Rwanda. She's actually in Africa. So uh,
Yes.
and I'm gonna let her talk briefly about her online school when she's done with this part. So I don't know if I'm not sure if that's why the connection is dropping, but just know she's not here in the US. She's not around the corner. She's actually on another continent. So just FYI on that as it relates to the drop. So
Yeah, so I don't want to I'm gonna tell y'all
yeah,
disclaimer, because I don't want to make, being in Africa or being in Rwanda look
yeah,
bad. I have much better internet at home. They do have good internet options here. We recently
Okay,
started a community center here, which is like a kind of a spinoff of what we did at the Shape Community Center in Houston, which we're
okay.
still involved on the team with the Shape Center as well. And the internet here is not as good yet.
Okay.
Because we don't have the satellite set up here, but you can have fast internet on the continent. Just
Yeah.
disclaimer,
I wonder,
everybody.
yeah, on our end, your voice is still going in and out. And I wonder if that's why, because of the internet connection at the community center as opposed to you being at home. Because we've done things before and you were at your house and we didn't have this issue. So I wonder if that's why the volume is doing what it's doing.
It may be.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Do you remember that last question?
Yes. So you were asking about, was it the micro investing?
No, no. I
Was
was
it
asking
that
about how long
question?
have you been doing this and what is the current value of your personal portfolio?
Yes. So for me, I haven't thought about it from that perspective of like, the current value of the portfolio, because I would have to check all of the appraisals change every year.
Okay.
And I haven't, checked all of the appraisals for this year, you
Just give us a
know.
ballpark.
Uh I mean, I have more than 20 acres, you
Okay.
know. So, it's somewhere around, I would say around like 30 acres,
Mhm.
right now,
Shoot. I'm gonna ask her one more question, then I want to see if you have any questions. Do you have any questions? Okay.
It's
Yeah. I was thinking that you probably have to go home and rewatch it so you can actually, hear.
yes.
Yeah. Because it's going in.
Yes,
Okay, so
yes,
you
and I
back. Okay.
appreciate everyone's patience. But yes, I have around 30 acres right now, and that's between Arkansas, Arizona, and Texas.
Okay.
And each one of those is appraised at least
Okay.
$3,000.
Okay.
Um, like some are like 3,000 per quarter acre,
Mm-hmm.
and then some of them, have gone up to, like 9,000 or 12,000, like over the past couple of years. So that kind of gives you like a framework, for, the value of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but of course, that's not how much it cost me to buy
Right.
it
Right.
you
Of course not.
know?
Of course not. Okay.
So, yeah. So that just gives you an idea of like how things can grow once you get into it. Even if
Mm-hmm.
you just start with one property or five properties in the beginning, you'll
Okay.
find that if you're very disciplined about reinvesting, then things can grow very, very quickly.
Right, right. Okay. Okay, so and I'm assuming that like any other real estate transaction or any transaction period, ownership is proven by the paperwork that you receive showing that you are the owner. I'm assuming that's how it works.
Correct.
Okay.
And so, all ownership paperwork goes through county courthouses.
Okay.
So, yeah, so we use a title company when we do deed transfers, and then the deed comes out from the county courthouse to the purchaser, the end buyer, with like a wet signature and all of that.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
This next question might be kind of hard because it's an average, but um is there an average return timeline window when you're flipping land that you purchased and you want to sell? Is there an average timeline for that window?
It really depends on how much energy that, you put into it as far as
Okay.
like what you're getting out of it, right? I run a school full time, we have a tech business, that we run as well. We do fundraising and social media with the Shape Community Center. So with everything that I do, the amount of time that I put into land flipping becomes very small, right? And with putting in a small amount of time, I can usually, bring in anywhere from like 4K to 10K,
Mm-hmm.
per month gross from that,
Okay.
and then reinvested into purchasing more land and, of course, use some of it to help, bolster what's happening with the school.
Okay. That's actually a good answer. I like that.
Yes.
Is investing in land in Africa as easy as investing in land here in the US, or does it
Not at all.
not at all? So it's
Not at all.
more difficult investing abroad.
Very much so.
Okay, and that's
Yes.
because
Just the whole process is more involved.
okay,
Like when we're purchasing land here, we have to, like, first of all, purchasing land in different African countries is completely different from each other.
okay,
And, here in Rwanda, you can own land outright, but it would be best to do that through a business. It's
mm-hmm,
free to start a business here and then purchase the land through the business. But, you have to go out there. You have to go to the land. You have to, check it out, talk to the people, look up the UPI number, to make sure everything is what they said that it is. And once you've gone through that whole process, then you can feel comfortable to like buy property here, right?
okay,
But in the US, you can buy property and everything is also mapped through like Google Maps, Street View. You can look up all of the information online about the parcel ID numbers, the back taxes. It wasn't like that in the US 20 years ago.
right,
But now everything is in the system. And so
mm-hmm,
it makes it very straightforward to purchase land in the US. Even Google Maps, like if you have the professional version, it has like a built-in thing now where you can see the taxes on the
oh
properties,
wow,
right?
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
so based
yeah.
on that answer, would you say that if a person wants to invest in land and or land flipping in Africa, would you say they should
Mhm.
do a few flips here in the US first to at least understand a process, so when it gets to the African flipping, they'll have an understanding of the process, if you will? Would that be your suggestion?
I would suggest doing land flipping in the US. I would not really suggest doing land flipping in Africa. There are better ways to make money from land, in Africa, that are accessible to you as an
Okay,
American.
okay,
So if you purchase agricultural land here in Rwanda, it is exponentially cheaper than purchasing residential land.
Rose. So I'm gonna ask her two more questions. Have her talk about her school, then we're gonna wrap it up. Yeah, because this is tough. I, I love what she's doing and I love the information, but this volume thing is
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you were to get, land here like 2 to 3 acres, here that's agricultural, you could get that for like between $6,000 and $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
But
There you go. You back? Okay.
yeah, if you were to get residential property here, it would cost a lot of money to get a big piece of residential property here. But agricultural, you can buy it cheaply and you can, do something with like cows or goats, rabbits, chickens that can bring in nice cash flow for you,
Mm-hmm.
um, where you have monthly cash flow,
Okay.
coming in from what you're doing with that agricultural property. You may want to get residential property now just so it doesn't go up in cost and you have it from when you're ready to build a home on the continent. But it's really not easy to do land flipping on the continent. So I would suggest doing things that bring you cash flow.
Okay. Okay. And another good segue to this last question. So a person has watched the video, watched the presentation, they want to get started. What is the quickest, easiest way for them to get started with legacy landowners?
Yes, just come on the website and set up a call. If you go to legacylandowners.com, right on the home page. Then you'll see where you're able to set up a call with me through Calendly. And, I can talk with you and, show you some properties. We can talk about the course, right? So that would be the easiest way to do things. So you can see here the Let's Talk button would link you right to my Calendly page
Mhm.
where, you can book a call, a video call, or a phone call, and we can talk directly. And, we can get you started this week.
Okay. Okay, cool. All right. So before I ask you to briefly talk about whole again whole life or
Whole
whole live
Living Academy.
whole life academy, whole living academy. Is there anything you want to say in closing about legacy landowners?
Yeah, so about legacy landowners and just land ownership and land flipping in general, I would just say, don't be scared, as they say, like get in there
Yeah.
because now is the time. The prices are going up every year, like for real. So, look at what your ancestors did, look at what your grandparents did, they own land.
Yep.
And, it's time for you to do that too. It's important.
Yeah. And one more question: is there a shortage of land investment flipping opportunities? Is there a shortage?
So it's more difficult to find the opportunities now
Okay.
than maybe in the past. And there are certain types of properties that you really have to comb through with a fine-tooth comb to find them. Like
Okay.
properties that you can homestead on and
Hmm.
do everything like build a clay house with beekeeping and things like that. It's getting harder to find those types of properties now. In the coming few years, it's going to be more difficult to find rural residential. Like I told you, one of the properties that I have, jumped up real quick to
Hmm.
15K from 3K. And so you can imagine what can happen over a 5-year period.
Right.
And, our income is not jumping up like that. It's not
That's
like,
right.
oh, yeah, I'm making 3K per month. I turn around and my boss called me and say, you know what, today you're gonna be making 15K per month. That's
Right.
not what's happening. So
Right. Right.
so
Yeah.
you have to think about that in perspective to like, okay, if I have anything, some savings, a credit card, whatever you need to do to make it happen, get you at least one property under your belt. You can buy land with a credit card. You still own the land outright. Now you just got the credit card bill to deal with,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So, however you can get in there, so that you at least have something under your belt. Now you're a landowner and you can
Hmm.
build from there. It's like when you travel out of the country for the first time. Once you get that under your belt, next thing you know, you got passport stamps everywhere, you
Right.
know?
Okay. 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 So cool. Thank you for that. I most certainly appreciate it. And again, as I said in my text message to you this morning, this is most certainly a foundational piece. I have two community financial. I'm calling them a summit, but I'm not sure if that's actually what it'll be. But I'm trying to get our people to focus on controlling the economics of the communities where we live. And a part of that has to be building personal wealth moving forward. And of course, we can't do that without the land piece. So we will most certainly continue to talk. And I love the educational track that you've laid out and made available for people. Because this is not something that you have to rush through. As you said, it's self-scheduled, if you will. You can go through it at your leisure. But the fact that you've made it available for people to learn the process, that's a big deal. So everything that I'm
Yes.
doing to move this black needle forward, you're most certainly going to be a part of, not just for the legacy landowner stuff, but of course, whole living. So with that perfect
Yes.
setup, let us know a little bit about Whole Living Academy.
Yes, yes. I definitely appreciate that. I am an educator. And that's really important to me. And our people, are really important to me. When I got into land flipping, like I said, I didn't see any Black people in the industry at all. I'm sure there are, but
Right.
I haven't seen it. And so, everyone who was putting content out there was, either white or Asian, but, for the most part, there were only white males
Okay.
that, were leading these programs and so on about land flipping. And so I recognized that it was an opportunity that I wanted to bring to our people because
Yep.
so many of us struggle with stability.
Yep.
And if you had something that could give you that little bit of extra help, then you could avoid taking out, more credit cards or predatory loans, and so on, that can end up really, driving down our financial situation even more. And so with that, Whole Living Academy is a virtual academy for kindergarten through 12th grade, academic excellence with a cultural foundation. For those of you who may be considering homeschooling, online school, we offer live classes with qualified teachers in small group setting, 5 days per week. This is one of our recent graduates, from May of this year,
Oh,
who's going into forensics at North Carolina A&T,
okay.
for example. And so we focus on holistic learning, martial arts, coding, art, music, creative writing, wellness, college prep, really preparing the students to be well-rounded and still having that little time in the afternoon to pursue athletics or higher training in musical arts and so on. A lot of our children are very high level. Caden, who you see here, he actually just went to nationals as a wrestler, and he's also a high level artist and a high level musician, a high level dancer, as well. So we pride ourselves on having students that are really, really well rounded. You can see one of Caden's art pieces, here, for example, just to see
Hmm.
what I mean about being very high level, as an artist. You can see one of our young ones, doing his science experiment with, DNA here as well. So, yes, if you have children, if you have grandchildren, nieces, nephews, please join us. And if you're not sure about, homeschooling or, if you're still just wanting to learn more about it, then please, join our free curriculum that we offer for all families, who may want to use it anywhere in the world at panafricancurriculum.com. That way you can kind of, see what it's all about and, be able to get, a better grasp of the process. We have over 6,000 pages of curriculum available here, along with worksheets at panafricancurriculum.com, totally for free, totally for free, just to make that available, to the US and to the African diaspora.
Yeah.
And I thank you so much for the opportunity to join you all here today. If you have any more questions, you can ask them here. I think we're gonna be out of time here pretty soon. So you can also email me at legacylandowners@gmail.com or at info@wholelivingacademy.com, info@wholelivingacademy.com.
Okay. And let me say, Brother Corey Ford, whom you know, put in the
Yes,
on Facebook, he said that he purchased land via Legacy Landowners. I purchased in March and saw a return by
yes,
June of the same year. So
yes.
we have a very solid testimonial from a very solid brother. So it's good that he put that in the chat. So on that note, Sister Nikala, thank you very much. Of course, much love and much appreciation for everything you guys do. The fact that we have brothers and sisters that we know on the continent in the motherland doing things to still help us here while also helping us there. That's a bridge that we absolutely must have. And the fact that you're there, Sister Swatara, Brother Sentwali, it's good to have
Yes.
family in other places. So I appreciate you for doing what you do. And we're most certainly going to build upon this land ownership thing because we got to do it. As you said, our
Mhm.
ancestors had the land. Unfortunately, a lot of it was stolen. We got to get that back
Yes.
by any means necessary. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I will most certainly be in touch.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you all as well. I appreciate you all for coming to the breakfast today. And for those of you, who are joining online. And as you're figuring everything out, doing the land flipping is definitely one of the quickest ways, to be able to gain some traction. Like I said, we have the farms here, and in Ghana and so on, and those are very slow compared to doing the land flipping in the US. Brother Tamani, is it okay if I see the audience there at the breakfast as well to say
Oh,
hi
well,
to them?
there was only one other person here, and she just stepped out to throw some in the trash.
Okay, no
Like I
problem.
said, yeah, okay. And we normally have, I guess, the average between 5 to 7 people. It just depends on who's showing
Yes,
up.
yes.
But again, the online audience is where we get the hundreds of views. So not that many
Yes,
here
of
that
course.
watch online.
Okay, well, for those of you who are there, I'm having like a virtual biscuit with you,
Yeah.
and thank you for coming today.
Right. We appreciate it. But anyway, okay. So thank you very much, and I'll be in touch, and we'll keep it moving.
Thank you so much.
Okay, talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.